3 million commuters a day using mass transit. These are the highest ridership numbers since the pandemic began. But the MTA says in order for them to go any higher, the NYPD has to step up its game. In fact, new this morning for you, we're learning that a number of New York City labor leaders are now joining the call for more police officers on the subways.
Yeah, joining us this morning is Interim New York City Transit President Sarah Feinberg with more on this. Good morning, Sarah. So good to see you.
Good morning. Good to be with you all.
All right, let's get into that letter. Labor leaders representing everything from grocery store employees to city employees to, of course, transit workers getting behind this push for more police on the subways, writing a letter over the weekend to the mayor saying that they simply don't feel safe. Now, this is something that you have been pushing for. This is echoing your argument for many weeks now. What's your reaction to this?
Look, I think the letter makes an enormous amount of sense, and it's argued really well. Look, I think what you're seeing is that, leaders are saying, we've got a bunch of our membership who are riding trains now, using the subway system, using the bus system, and we also want to bring people back too. And we know that now's a really important moment for New York to come back, and the next 3 to 6 months are critically important. And so, let's work together. Let's surge some police into the system, and let's make sure the system is as safe as possible as we bring the city back and as the transit system comes back.
So, Sarah, NYPD Transit Chief Kathleen O'Reilly, she's pushing back, accusing the MTA of fear-mongering, citing that major crimes are actually down compared to this time last year, right? The mayor actually going further, saying the MTA should be telling people it's right to come back, not discourage them. People, everyday New Yorkers, know that the subways are safe. Now, there was a recent survey that found there was a whopping 87% of people who say that safety concerns will influence their decision on whether or not to ride. So here's the question. Are the officers needed to fight crime, or are they easing fears?
Great question, and it's both, and that's the reality. So, look, the numbers are at a place where they shouldn't be. Our ridership is down to 2/3. We've got 1/3 of our riders are back. With that number of riders, crime should be down further than it is, right? And it's not. So first of all, we need the police in the system because we want to deter crime and make sure that the system is safe. But second, perception matters right now. And the way you feel when you're in the system matters right now. So we've got hundreds of thousands of essential workers who have been in the system every single day, carrying the city on their backs for the last year. We've got millions of people who are thinking about coming back to the system, want to come back to the system, are contemplating their return. When they dip their toe into their commute, when they start to come back, I want them to feel safe and confident and feel good about safety from COVID and safety from crime and harassment. That just makes sense. And as you just said, we have 87% of our current riders and lapsed riders have said this is important. This is critically important in order for me to come back and to stay back.
Yeah, and 75% in that survey felt that it was safer with an NYPD officer either on the platform, on the subways, or on the buses. And you just mentioned, perception is very important here. So I have to ask you, with new safety cameras that were recently installed on some trains, they were removed. So how can you explain what happened with those cameras and how can it be replaced? Because there is a perception there, right? If they're removed, then you're taking away some safety measurements.
Yeah, so to be clear, we've been pushing really hard to install a lot of cameras into the system. I've said I want cameras on every platform and in every subway station. Again, this is because it captures first of all, it deters incidents, I believe. And then also, if we do have an incident, it's a quick way to be able to get that footage and get it to the NYPD so that they can do their work. We've also said that we will, and we've done more on cameras over the last year than I think has been done in the history of New York City Transit, and we're going to continue to do that work. What you saw over on Friday was just one train. We had an agreement with a company that we were no longer comfortable with, and so we removed the cameras from that train. We removed that train from service, but that was just one train in the larger system, and we've still got thousands and thousands of cameras out there, both to deter incidents and to work with the NYPD.
So I'm speaking to the police commissioner this Wednesday right here on Pix 11. Have you had that conversation about additional resources? He says he's put more in, and that number, last time I spoke to him, was that number is staying put right where it is.
I have a great relationship with Commissioner Shea, a great partnership. I so appreciate the work that he's done. Look, he's in a bind too. He's got fewer resources than he's ever had before. He's making overtime cuts just like I've had to make significant overtime cuts. So nothing is easy here. If I could give him resources, I would. I think if he could give me resources, he would. But we are working together. It's a good partnership. I think that we can get to a place where we can, put some additional resources into the system, particularly in the next 3 to 6 months to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make people feel safe as they come back. And I think that we can get there.
You had mentioned earlier that, and just now, that the next few months are very critical. Explain to us why you think that that's really going to rope people in and make them feel like we can get back to somewhat sense of normalcy on the subways and buses and trains.
Look, New York is not alone in this. We were the epicenter of the crisis and the heart of the pandemic, but we're seeing this in Atlanta and Philadelphia and other cities. My counterparts, the men and women who run transit systems in those cities, are saying, we know that things will both be better and feel better once ridership comes back. What's critical is getting to that tipping point where you've got enough riders in the system that you're feeling safer and that things are safe, right? Because you've got safety in numbers. What we're all saying is what gets us between here and that point. And that's a really important moment in time where we've got to make sure that people feel safe so that they come back to the system, which then makes the system safer.
Full 24-hour service, Sarah. You have always said that it was going to be when the pandemic came to an end. You've slowly put some more overnight hours back online. But when will there be full 24-hour system again?
No announcement for you this morning. I think it'll come back soon.
I'm trying.
Look, I don't blame you. I'm going to continue to do everything I can to make sure that I've got people coming back to the system, coming back to the city. Frankly, that leap to 24-hour service is an important one, but for now I want to make sure people are coming back and using the system and as the city comes back.
Let me try to make another headline then, because last time you were here, you were actually physically in person. You were one of the last people I interviewed in person before the pandemic, and you talked about the interim status and why it was interim. We are well through a year now since that interview. When are we dropping the interim title?
Not today. What did he say?
She was like, I'm going to hear you out, but I already know what I'm going to tell you. All right, Sarah. I saw it all over your face.
Your studio at some point soon.
Yes, hopefully soon.
All right.
That'll be a moment.
Yeah, thank you.